their businesses. So the knowledge that Jamie is going to say today is fully amazing. Jamie is a rock star. What she does, she's a business owner. She helps me grow my business. Many of you know me, and Jamie works behind the scenes with many, many successful entrepreneurs and business owners to help them scale and grow their business. Her expertise is time management. She knows many of the CRM systems, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 50 of them, however many there are. She knows them and more. Some people would refer to the title online business manager, but I just wanted to say that, and not that I need to, but uplift her in that way. Many people look at me, but I turn to Jamie for a lot of things that I need help with. And I will say, Jamie, last thing I'll say is, remember, we have an offer we're going to provide you with, an audit. This audit has a lot of questions, which is good. And I found as I went through the audit, it helps you think through many of the things you haven't thought of. Kudos to those who are already customers, already purchased, and we appreciate you. But I just wanted to add that this is all free we're giving you now. But if you're hearing it and you're like, you know what, wow, I want to work with Jamie. I possibly want to work with Ramon. Fill out the information. Jamie will put that in there, and that's how you can work with Jamie and get her knowledge for your business. So with that, Jamie, I hope that was appropriate. I turn it back to you.
That was appropriate. And since you did that, I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. We're going to jump right in. Can everyone see these slides? Okay, this first slide isn't super important, so we're just going to make sure. Ramon told you a little bit about me. So we all know Ramon because I met most of you through Ramon, and you all got his email. So you all know Ramon in some way, but you know, he's the most, other than his professional expertise in marketing and branding and his infectious energy, Ramon Ray is one of the most generous, kindest, caring people I've ever met. So thank you for him and his very gracious introduction to me. Let's skip this next slide because we've done this, right? We're going to talk about SEO today. We're going to talk about what SEO is, why it's important, where we can do it, and the basics of how we can do it. There's a lot, right? SEO is probably a 4-day workshop. SEO can be a full-time job. So I'm going to give you the basics of the things that you can control and do right now with just the education I give you today, and it should be impactful. It will be impactful. So what is SEO? Search engine optimization. And if you see me looking down, it's because I'm kind of reading these slides because like Ramon said, I don't have a script because I added a bunch of slides late. So search engine optimization, a set of processes designed to improve the appearance and positioning of websites on search result pages. So what does that mean? Oh, why are my slides not? This is an example of a search engine Google page. You guys know what this looks like. I search CRM. The top view here you can see are ads, and then everything else is organic. Most people know the goal is to get your website as close to that first page as possible. The goal is the first page. So when someone searches for a term, when someone searches for a word, they find your business. We'll come back to the slide later. Why is SEO important? I'm going to start with showing you a bunch of data. And before I show you the data, I want you to kind of get a sense of the resource I found. So I'm going to take you to worldometer.com. And as you can see here, they are one of the best free reference websites based on the American Library Association. They're used by several international governments, several respected media outlets, and research groups, and they've been referenced in 1 million books and platforms, so they know what they're talking about, right? I'm going to scroll down. I hope everyone can see this live. Social, society, and media.
Yeah, we can see it.
This is a live count, right? Kind of sort of real time of posts. You see this email sent today, 220 million or 220 billion, 6 billion or 6 million blog posts published today, just today, 6 million blog posts published today, and the day is not over. The tweets and the Google searches, this gives you a sense of what's going on. Internet users, right? There's a lot of traffic on the internet. There's a lot of content being posted. So the next thing I want to look at, if my slide will advance, 80% of web surfers prefer Google. I'm sure if I asked you guys, when you search the web, when you are looking to buy a new product online, take a new course, checking out a new resource, you probably go to Google. Maybe some of you go to Facebook, or YouTube is very popular, not Facebook, but many of the social media accounts, it's Google, YouTube. Some of you might use Bing. Some of you still may be using Yahoo. It's probably not likely. 80% of users prefer Google. 77% of users are absolutely influenced by the information they find in their online search. Whether they bought the product online or in a brick and mortar store, their purchase is influenced by what they find online. Less than 3%. Less than 3%. We just saw there's like what, 6 billion people online right now. Less than 3% are going to click an ad. Ads are expensive. Yes, they work if you have a ton of money behind it and you can get 1 billion people to see it. 3% of 1 billion people is a lot. I don't think any of us have that kind of budget. So let's talk about SEO, because that's an organic way to get the traffic that we're looking for. And then finally, that first page. Why is that first page goal so important? 95% of clicks come from the first page of search results. So again, think about the last time you did a search. How deeply did you go into Google? How deeply? Just think about that.
Not far. I didn't go on page 50, that's for sure.
That's for sure. I might go 2 or 3, right? I might go 2 or 3, maybe. So how does SEO work? I think that's important to understand. So when we talk about search engines, we're talking about Google, we're talking about Bing, we're talking about Yahoo. The first thing you're going to hear a lot about crawlers and bots, spiders. They crawl the internet looking for new sites, looking for updates to your sites. And based on a ton of complicating factors, and I'm going to show you some of those factors very soon, they collect information about your website, whether it's your post, your blog post, whether it's your landing page. They collect information, and based on the information, they do what we call indexing, right? And indexing is basically deciding where you rank among those million other blogs that were published today, among the zillion other websites that we know are out there. How valuable is your content compared to everyone else, right? DuckDuckGo on TV. So once they find your website, they use all sorts of factors to make a determination about the quality of your content, the consistency of your content. We'll talk about that soon. Then they decide based on that where you fall in the database, and then they serve those results. So when I type in, like we saw in the search, CRM, they decide who is the most valuable resource for me, and that's who's on the first page, right? I'm really bringing this down for you guys because it's way more complicated. Here's a summary. Again, paid ads at the top, organic ads. There's going to be algorithms. SERP is the search engine results page. It's your Google results. I'm going to probably default to Google because we call all facial tissue Kleenex, right? Even though some are Kleenex, some are Puffs. So we're just going to call it Google today. And a reminder, 95% of clicks internet-wide come from that first page. So if you can get there, that's amazing. And I will stop for questions in just a moment. There are 2 types of SEO. There's on-page SEO and off-page SEO. We're going to talk a little bit about both. On-page SEO is like factors that you can control. These are things that we're going to do on your website. There are some items that are very technical, like site speed and mobile friendly. We're not going to get into that today. We're going to get into the things that are a little just easier to do. So we're going to talk about content. We're going to talk about keywords. We're going to talk about linking, those things that we can control. Off-page SEO is things that don't directly impact your ranking, but absolutely impact the factors that impact your ranking, right? Think of kind of that trickle down effect. These are going to be things that you do on social media like Facebook and YouTube and SoundCloud and Medium, influencer marketing if you do any, and link building, which we will. Link building is very important. You're going to hear me use that word a lot. We don't have a lot of time to get into it, but we will touch on it just enough so that you know what I'm talking about. You can do some research later, and maybe that's a whole nother webinar. Where can your SEO be applied? For the most part, 3 places. Your website, that's what we're going to focus on today. Social media, again, we're going to focus on that today, and some local SEO. Some of you have businesses where you may want to be searchable locally. My business is all virtual. It doesn't matter if my client is in Meadville or in Spain. But some of you may want that local clientele, and this SEO is going to be important. And even if you're all virtual, a bare minimum effort at this is going to be super important. So we'll touch on that.
Hey, Jamie.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on, I have a friend of mine talking about local SEO. He lives somewhere else in the USA, but he's owned the whole thing about New York City red lights. So I just wanted to add that, local SEO, which I think you said we're not going to touch on that so much, but to give you the concept of SEO, it's powerful. Sometimes we're searching for, doctor, but let's remember, orthopedic doctor in Louisiana specializing for older men, whatever, So I just wanted to add that because sometimes we think of just the 2-3 keywords, but those of you who are very local and just need people to walk in your door, go for it.
And that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm not going to get into long tail and short tail keywords. Again, keyword searching, which is critical to SEO, is probably 2-hour webinar by itself. And there are experts who can do it for you, and there are paid places. I'm going to show you one really great, cheap, free, quick, do it yourself, because that's what this is all about. So let's, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to give like 2 minutes for questions about what is SEO, where it can be applied. Do we kind of get the basics? I'm watching the crowd here. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Kay. Samuel. No one? Okay, I'm going to keep moving because we got a lot. And once we get moving, there's going to be more questions, I promise. And Ramon, thank you for sharing that link. Everyone who is here will have a chance to enter into a free audit, marketing and branded audit of your website. You do have to register in that link to kind of prove your attendance here, and I'll pull that winner. So what are the factors into the Google algorithm? This is going to vary and it changes all the time, but in general, niche expertise is the most important. Consistent publication of high quality content. So how are you going to rank at the top? You're going to publish good quality content regularly. That's shows that you have authority, and we're going to talk about how you build this authority. This is how social media and link building comes in. We're not going to focus on all of this because some of it's very technical, but we will talk about keywords in your meta title and tags. We will talk about internal linking. Again, even though this is only 7%, we're going to talk about keywords in the URL. Don't ignore that 1%, because doing all of this consistently will really make a big impact over time. And it's important. And I think once you master these basics, then you can move on to learning and educating yourself on the other things, or maybe you've made enough money that you can hire a professional, because SEO can become a full-time job. And you will get these slides. So just wanted to give you an idea of what Google is looking for when those crawlers and bots are all over the internet and they're indexing your site and they're determining, do we show Lowell's site on page 1 and Laura's site on page 10? This is what they're looking at. I'm going to stop there. No, so where do you start, right? Start with your website. We all probably have a website. If you don't have a website, we should get a website. And the first thing to do is keyword planning. Keyword planning can be difficult. What keywords do you do? My friend G may recognize some of this. So if you can't afford to buy a keyword searcher, I'm not going to give any names because there's a million of them and I'm not endorsing any. If people want to throw some links up there, feel free to do that. I'm not going to do that. The cheap way is to go to your Google results, type what you think your main keyword is, and just don't choose anything and see what Google serves you, because that's what people are searching for. So now you know what people are searching for, and you want to build your content around this. Those of you who joined our sales funnel clinic know how important it is, your content strategy, which is number 2, right? Building a strategy, building a content around your keywords. It's not going to be one keyword. It might be 2 or 3, and you're going to use short keywords like just Reiki, or you're going to long, right? Reiki healing. Maybe it's Reiki healing practitioners. Maybe it's Reiki healing courses, right? It can be really long. Maybe you're looking for women's athletic shoes in a size 9 wide. That's kind of a long tail keyword as opposed to women's sneakers, right? So think about your keywords. Think about your overall content strategy. The content strategy is, what is your messaging? How are you branding? Again, I'm hoping at this point in your business, you probably know some of that. So we're going to focus on SEO. But then, of course, rich content, whatever you post on your website, whether it's a blog, whether it's your home page, whether it's a landing page, you want to use rich content, audio, video, images. Here's a trick, and we're going to get into this. Google can't read that rich content. Google can only read text. So when your crawlers are coming by to check out your website to see where they should index you, they can only read text, which is why it's very important that we use meta tags. This is part of SEO, and I'm going to teach you today. And it also helps with ADA compliance, which just opens your website up to more people. So keyword planning, overall strategy, rich content. You see these, I'm going to just kind of, and I will give you another chance for questions. So please hold them for a moment. These are terms I'm going to use as I talk about how you apply this SEO to your website, to your blog, to your social media. So this is important. We're going to talk about page headings. We're going to talk about meta titles and descriptions. Meta titles, and this might be a little hard to see, but I'll illustrate it on a better image soon. Your meta titles are basically what Google pulls and serves. So this 7 best CRMs of 2020-22, the balance of small business, that's a meta title. The description underneath, a CRM is a customer relationship management, that's a meta description. You want to make sure those are optimized because that's what's going to show on those search result pages. And that's what entices people to click, right? That's what differentiates you from everyone else. Cannabis medical use because they have a big trend today. I'll read some of these around. Let me know if there's anything really good in the chat for me, please.
Absolutely.
So bigger picture, like I was saying, what is CRM / Salesforce? This is their meta title. What is CRM? A beginner's guide to CRM software. Keep, that's their meta title. And you'll see all their meta descriptions. And I want you to notice something. They all include that keyword that I searched for, which is CRM, right? I could have done a long tail keyword search. I didn't do that today. You will notice some anomalies. Colorado Rocky Mountain School. It's not really the CRM I was looking for, but they must be using that word a lot. And it must be really quality stuff because Google decided it might just be relevant to my needs. The same thing with this lacoast.gov. So again, why SEO is important, and this is why. SEO is going to help us, or when you're doing SEO, you want to think about authorship. If you can get guests post, if you can get people writing for your website, that's great. But you want to get people who are established. If you can get Ramon Ray, who's published and an influencer and amazing, to submit stuff, he kind of brings some credibility to your site. The more you write, the more you publish, that creates credibility to your site. And again, we'll talk about link building, which helps do that. And then we'll talk about outbound links. And again, I'll show you this. I just want you to hear these terms. They're going to lead to resources within your that verify. So think about when you write a paper for high school and you have to cite your sources. If you can link to a credible, a credible outside source that verifies what you're saying in your blog, again, it just helps your credibility. So those are things that you want to try to do, and we'll get into that in detail. URLs, I think everyone knows what a URL is. It's just the website name. smarthustle.com is a URL. All of your URLs, we should try to keep them short, and we should include the keyword where we can. The keyword, it should be front loaded. You're going to hear me say that a lot, front loaded. That means put the keyword as close to the front as you can, and I'll go into detail about why that's important soon. But just remember, keywords are really important. They should be front loaded whenever possible. When we talk about those meta titles and descriptions, those title tags, this is on all of your website pages, whether it's a landing page, a home page, a contact us page, a blog. If it is a page on your website and it is publishable, it should be somewhere. The SEO settings are there, and I'm going to show you Wix. Or I'm going to show you WordPress today, kind of, sort of. I can tell you where it's at if you have a Wix site, or I can tell you where it's at if you have a Squarespace. You can Google it and find it. But you're on every page that you publish, you really want to optimize those pages and those posts. Again, short URLs, Update the meta title and descriptions, and I'm going to show you where those can be found. Make sure they have a keyword, front-loaded keyword. Introductions. When you're writing that blog, that very first paragraph is an introduction. Remember I talked about those crawlers can only read text? They give priority to usually like the first 150 characters or 150 words, depending on the platform, whether we're talking about social media or your blog post. That is, again, why it's critical to get that keyword as close to the beginning as possible. We're going to talk about headings and subheadings. This is different from like if you're writing a paper in Word and you have a subheading and you just bold it, or maybe you just make it bigger. We actually want to make sure we're using what we call H1, H2, H3 tags, and I will illustrate this for you. Those subheadings make it nicer to read. They break up some of your text, and we should put keywords in there if we can. I'm going to talk about putting keywords everywhere we can possible. When it comes to the body, when it comes to the actual text that people are reading, we want it to be natural. I don't know. I've been doing this for a while, and like 15 years ago, you could see really bad websites that were heavily written for SEO because the keyword was just repeated over, and you're like, this doesn't even make sense. Nobody talks like that. So you don't want to do that. You want to put it where it's natural. You can use variations of it. So if your keyword is women's shoes, you can use variations like women's sneakers or women's tennis shoes or women's comfortable shoes. So those things are going to be important. And again, very soon, I'm going to show you pictures that illustrate what I'm talking about when I say your URLs, your meta titles, and how you can change and update those things on your website. When you put rich content into your blog post, when you have pictures, graphs, infographics, video, again, I want to remind you, Google, Bing, none of them can read it. So you want to optimize those files. There are a few ways you can optimize it. If you do all three of these, you're a powerhouse. You want to make sure the file names, the actual file names that you upload, have the keyword in it. It should just make sense. If you can make it match the title of your blog, article, video, that's great. There's going to be an opportunity to list what we call alt tags. Alt tags are if someone can't see, they can click a button and Google will read to them. It's like we'll read to them what the picture is, or kind of give them a description. Those alt tags, again, should have your keyword in it. We want to put it anywhere we can, especially if it's not being seen. And we'll talk about that. I just mentioned about using synonyms. That's the same thing with latent semantic indexing. So using words that are correlated. If I'm writing a blog about writing a blog for money, I can talk about writing a blog to boost your finances, writing a blog to grow your sales. Those are all semantically related and synonymous. External links, we talked about that. If you're going to put any external links, are important, but they should be reliable, trusted, authoritative resources. Internal links. This is really, 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 really important too. All of your blogs should have 2 to 5 internal links. If you're writing blogs, articles, newsletters in the email, they should have 2 to 5 internal links. And when I say internal, I mean linking to something that's already on your website. So if I'm writing a blog about being a virtual assistant, how about I'm writing a blog about time chunking? It's a practice to manage time. And within that, I talk about different tools that I use. Instead of linking to those tools, I might link to my blog that talks about those tools. And the reason why you want to do that is one of the factors on the graph I showed you is engagement. It's basically how long a user spends on your website. So the longer your blog, the more you can get them to read, the more you can get them to click around your website, the better. The more time people spend on your website, Google thinks, not just thinks, it's being proven, right? That you have valuable content. So 2 to 5 links, always, always. And keyword rich links means link to the actual keyword. If you're saying time chunking, then you want to link time chunking. And I'll try to show you some examples of that. Are there any questions yet so far?
One thing I just wanted to say, Jamie, in lieu of questions, feel free to anybody has questions, just to add that I know I found for those of you who are authors, consultants, speakers, coaches, authors, consultants, speakers, CACs, like I know Diane DeResta is, for example, and others, what Jamie was talking about regarding the frequent content. Let me go back, actually, if you want to share that screen again, Jimmy. I think one thing you were saying, but the point is, I think it was the authorship. Yeah, that's okay. Authorship. That's what I just wanted to say, is that WordPress and tagging and these things are good for everybody, but especially us. I think that's one thing to add at a very high level. I found it great for myself. People often ask me, Jimmy, how do you get these speaking gigs and all that? Listen, Jamie, I have a small audience, as you know, compared to millions of some beauty queen or Instagram, fashionista, not millions, but it's tight and very focused. That's one. And then two, I think I just wanted to add to remind everybody, two more points I'll say, remind everybody, work in reverse. What do you want people to say? Another thing that I've seen recently, Jamie, yes, is that on podcasts, I'll hear somebody introduce me as Ramon Ray as one of the top motivation. I'll be like, really? And I'd be like, oh, that's what I wrote. I told him to say that. So truthfully, reverse engineer how you want the world to see you in your SEO and all the things Jamie's has and will show you. And I think then last thing I'll add, Jamie, is that just the aspect of talk the way the lay person would. As you know, Jamie and many others, I was on Saturday speaking to a group of therapists, a variety of different types of therapists in Chicago. I'm a lay person. I'm an outsider. But I was honored because I had to educate them. You're using all these $10, $1 million words. I don't know what you people said in a respectful way too, right? They have to talk my language. So I just want to add those three things. As you're doing SEO, it's very powerful. Please, back to you, Jamie.
And I'm actually going to talk about that. We're going to talk about authenticity, because that's super important. We're going to touch on many of the things that Ramon just addressed. I do want to send a special shout out to Valerie. Thank you for coming. She's someone I went to high school with. She's supporting me, and she's starting an entrepreneurial journey. So it's exciting to see her here and support me, and I'm happy to support her. Any questions from the audience before I start showing some examples based on WordPress on where you can edit some of these SEO settings? Because I think once you see where you can edit these SEO settings, you have a better understanding of where we're going. No crickets, nobody's shaking their head, no one's unmuting.
Somebody said in the chat,
using Webflow for your website instead of WordPress.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, and he's gonna tell you this is true. I'm a serial enabler. I'm gonna tell you to use whatever works best for you. I am not married to any one option. Every tool platform has its pros and its cons, and just like any medication, a medication may work on twin A but not on identical twin B. So if Webflow is working for your website and that works for your business, absolutely use it.
And Jamie, I'll add one more thing to that, and I'll tell, because I think we have a variety of audiences here. Those who are just starting out and you don't have your email newsletter, your website's not so great, et cetera. And I hope you all invest in the, go ahead, Jamie. Go ahead.
Audit. Audit.
I hope you all invest in the audit so you have the opportunity to work with Jamie on many of these things. But I must say, just start. Because listen, many of you know I've been working with Infusionsoft Keep for a number of years. No bones about it. But guess what? I'll tell you another secret. I put in my credit card number for MailChimp. I also put in my credit card number for Zoho, because I have a lot of things I'm doing, build a lot of companies. I partly did it because, like Jamie, I'm a kind of a geek. So I wanted to test out doing things with new tools. But I just wanted to say, as Jamie said, underline that, just use it. If you're using nothing, again, use the audit. Jamie can help you. But if you're just starting, don't wait 10 years because you're trying to find perfect. Jamie, back to you.
I'm gonna keep moving on. I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. I'm gonna show some real examples here. And hopefully, and again, I'm going to share, you'll get these slides later. So this is in WordPress. I believe all WordPress comes with Yoast SEO. It comes with the free. You're going to read reviews. Some people love Yoast SEO. Some people hate it. I think Yoast, Wix has an SEO wizard. Squarespace probably has something similar, and I hope you guys can hear me well, because someone was telling me sometimes my audio is weird. Anyway, they're great tools to get you started, right? So if you don't know a whole lot about SEO, especially if this clinic is your first experience, then use it. If you can afford to bump up from Yoast SEO Basic to Yoast SEO Premium, there are some additional features which you might see here, because I think, Ramon, I'm using our Yoast as an example. Please do that. And then once you're comfortable, ditch it. You know, once you know what you're doing, ditch it. So as you can see here, Yoast allows me to determine my key phrase. I would make this as long tail as possible. This is just inventory. We don't write a lot about inventory. My concern with this is what we call link cannibalization. And I'm going to explain that to you in a minute, but that's basically when you have two pieces of content that the keyword is the same, and then Google doesn't know which one's more important. And you really kind of want to try to avoid that. This goes back to why, as you build your business and you talk about marketing your business, you must have an overall content strategy. We talked about this in the sales funnel clinic. If you weren't there, get the recording. You have to kind of have pillars of content. And once you have those pillars of content, everything else, your blogs, your social media posts, your videos are going to be built around that. They give you a preview. Back to my screenshot, there was a preview here of what Google is going to show. So if you share your URL, the link, whatever you have set up on Facebook or wherever, it's going to show this picture. It's going to give you this title. It's going to give you this meta description. We talk about shortening the URL. Some places call it a slug. You'll see that down here at the bottom, the slug, too much inventory. You want to make that as short as possible, and you want to try to front load, again, the keyword. In this case, I think the Google catches the first 70 characters, I want to say, so inventory will be caught in that crawl. You can make your title much longer if you must, but put the keyword as close to the beginning as you can. And then further down, you'll be able to change your meta description. This meta description should be about, I think it's 150 words. Yoast is great because you'll see it turns green when you've hit that word count. This is a mix of word count and keyword. Notice the keyword is in the beginning. Your meta description should describe pretty clearly what people are getting on that page. So if it's a page in your home page, it to describe what they're going to find. In this case, I'm using a blog as an example, and it describes what kind of information they're going to get in the blog. Again, Yoast is great because it gives you this little green smiley face. He turns green, yellow, orange, red, depending on how well you're optimizing that SEO. So you just kind of want to shoot for green. If you're learning, this is a great kind of mentor, right? I talked about cannibalization. See down here in red, it says that link key phrase. You're linking to another page with words you want this page to rank for. I told Yoast I want this page to rank for inventory, but somewhere down the line, because Ramon and I post a lot of content, we told it to use inventory before. This is why, if you can use those long tail keywords, if you can use phrases, because a keyword can be an entire phrase, that is that's going to be really important later on down the line. You'll see it's linked to outbound links, which means I'm linking to sources outside of Smart Hustle. I have image key phrases, and I'll go over that with you. I have linked internally to internal articles. Yoast will walk you through all of this. I can't click this little eye, but if you click the eye, something's red, and you click the eye, it will give you tips and tools. That's why I'm telling you. A lot of people say Yoast isn't worth the money or worth the effort. I say if you're just starting out, it's a really good mentor, especially if you're using Wix or WordPress. We talked about optimizing the text, and I mentioned those heading, those H1 tags. Other than just bolding your content, you bolding your headers. Google is looking for bullet points. So anytime you can use bullet points in the list, that is great. Google is also looking for those heading tags. I can't tell you exactly why those heading tags are so important, other than it tells them what you're talking about, right? Because they're skimming, they're not reading every word. So your H1 tag, this H1 tag, which I don't have highlighted, that's usually reserved for the title of your blog. That's probably the only place it should be. When you write your blogs, especially if they're longer, which they should be 1,800, 2,000 words or so, you can go shorter. We'll talk about that later. That's another, how long of a blog post? That's probably another hour or two, but if it's a particularly long blog post, headings are good to break it up. Again, think back to when we were in high school or college and we were writing research papers and whatnot. You had to have headings. In this case, you want these headings to be H2. You don't want to bold them. You want to highlight them. You want to come up to your text editor. You want to choose H2. If it's a subheading, you want to choose H3 and kind of keep following that hierarchy. Again, I've highlighted return your inventory for a refund or credit, because you'll see inventory, that keyword is in the tag. That's important. You'll see these blue links. Those are my internal and external links that Google is looking for, establishing authority. You can ignore those red lines. That's just Grammarly telling me that we should fix some editing, but this was a blog post submitted it to us. So any questions here before I move to the next slide? We've talked about, I'm going to go backwards. We've talked about, how to kind of start optimizing your H1 and H2 tags and title tags. Those are important. We talked about where to find these SEO settings. That's going to be in your blog. There should be a little block right underneath. If not, right on, again, WordPress, right on the left-hand side, your dashboard, you'll see Yoast SEO. Wix sits under your SEO tools. You have to open your pages. So go to pages, edit, and you'll see SEO settings. I can show you screenshots or take you there later. But any questions?
I just want to add a side note, Jamie, nothing to what you just said, but thank you. But I just wanted to say that this is why, and we've talked about this before, I talk about it all the time, learn it from Seth Godin and go on, why we encourage small business owners to charge a premium. It's easier said than done. I know that, but I know that many of you, because I am one of you, Jamie is one of you. We know what it's like to save money, have low, whatever it is, the struggles we go through. So my point though being, as you can build your business and you're charging a premium, yes, as Jamie already said, do the free all day. Jamie will preach free all day. Step 2, pay for the premium version. Most of the time they do work, especially the good tools, Agora Pulse, Buffer, and CoSchedule, these tools. Pay the $500 a year, $100 a month. It is worth it. We do this at Smart House, so trust me, my credit card dings every single month, and I love it. Thank you, Maria. And then number 3, as I said, number 3, then invest in hiring somebody to help you get it done. And then that's how you then reach that other point where you're really cooking with grease. So I just wanted to add that free, pay for the premium. And then, oh, I see. I thought Maria was clapping. She has a question, Jamie. Back to you, Jamie.
Well, Alicia has a question. And I'm going to address this really quickly in the blog. It's about blog length, and this is important because it's important to SEO. So humans, particularly Americans, have very short attention spans. We're going to skim and scan. That's an argument for short blog posts. The SEO minimum, Yoast will tell you that you need to be at least 300 words. That's the bare minimum. Statistics say that all of those companies ranking on the first page of a Google search result, their average blog post is about 1,800 words long. And let me tell you why length is important. Back to engagement on your site. The longer someone spends on your site, the more reputable Google believes it is, because you're delivering valuable information and people are sticking around. If people come to your site and just leave, it's because they couldn't find what they were looking for. So the other thing about longer blog posts, and they don't have to be every week, maybe you just do the longer ones every month. What's nice about the longer blog posts is it's easier to organically weave in those keywords. It's easier to organically weave in those headings. It's easier to add images and rich content that we can then optimize, which just boosts everything else that we're doing. And those blog posts, those super long ones, can be broken down into smaller lead magnets. They can be social media posts. They can be a million other things, right? So I'm going to answer that question. I want to have time at the end to answer all of your questions. So let me move on, because as I said, I added slides to this and I want to make sure I get through them all, because I think this information is super valuable to you. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. So I talked about optimizing images, your rich content. I'm showing a picture of an image, but whether it's an image a native video, whether it's a PDF file. These are going to be important. You want this alt text. That's what I was telling you about. This is what Google's going to read when they're crawling and indexing your site. It's also what ADA compliant sites are going to read. Some will read a caption depending on what tool and application they're using. Some will read a caption, but most will just kind of read the alt text. So if you put that in there, what we've done here is beautiful. It's in the text, the title, and the description. That keyword, Google's going to get it. It's also, do you see here? This is the file name. It's in the file name. The file name is not screenshot, whatever. It's not download. It's not 164.jpg. It's inventory. It could be the name of your article. So you want to make sure your images, your PDFs, the file names have the keyword, that you're attaching alt text to it, that the title, that the description, and if you have a caption and you want to use captions, make sure that has a keyword too. I didn't talk about the technical end of SEO for your website. I didn't talk about page speed. Page speed is important because if your pages load slow, people don't stick around, period. Mobile friendly, that's important because as most of you probably know, 50, 60, almost 70%, it's growing of web traffic comes from a web device. So Google is definitely looking for websites that are mobile friendly. Excuse me, user interface. This goes back to engagement on your site, getting people to stay, hoping people are enjoying what they're getting. Website architecture. We can get into robot text. This is advanced stuff. And if you're using Wix, if you're using WordPress, they're all doing this for you. So you don't have to worry about your website architecture, but that's basically the hierarchy, right? Your homepage, then your maybe those little tabs across the top, the various other pages that you have. And then where do all those little things lead? Is it connected? Again, back to my slide earlier about overall content strategy. I would say don't build a website unless you know not only what's on the website, but what you're going to serve on your first lead magnet and maybe what you're going to write for the first 3 to 5 articles. So, and don't go to my website because I didn't follow that rule, but the pauper never has new shoes. Or I mean, the cobbler never has new shoes. Authority and trust. This is not technical SEO, but again, this is something, authority and trust you have to build, and you have to build that by getting people engaged with your site. You have to build that by getting backlinks. And this is hard. It can be hard. It's a long process. And again, it requires a whole webinar in and of itself, right? But the idea is you want to build authority and a trust by getting people to read your content, to share your content. If you can get CNN, right? CNN.com to share your blog, that's going to be huge to Google, right? If you can't get CNN, maybe you get 100 other smaller, even, closely reputable sites. So that's what we're talking about, building backlinks as well, getting other reputable sites to use your content, to source your content. Just like when I showed you at the beginning, that Worldometer, they said that their information had been published in 10,000 books and 6,000 professional journals. Those are backlinks. So those are other strategies. You can research those on your own. Maybe there are other topics that we can have in the future. That's your website. And again, you're going to get these slides, but we talked about optimizing your page content, making sure that keyword is in your title, in your tags, making sure that you're using headings and the keyword is in those headings, making sure that you're using inbound and outbound links so that you can establish authority and trust, making sure that any of your rich content, that's your media files, your videos, your photos, your infographics, your PDFs, all of those are optimized to the best of your ability. It can feel like a lot. It's worth it, especially if you're growing your business and you're trying to establish yourself in a very big pond. I'm going to stop there. We have 45 minutes. I'm going to give us 5 minutes to answer questions before I talk about how you can optimize your CEO, because this is, even though it's what we call off-page SEO, it doesn't directly impact your rank. It absolutely drives your traffic that directly impacts your rank. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to give us 5 minutes to answer questions.
And there's questions from Maria and Laura. Maria, do you want to go off mic and ask Jamie your question? Unless it was answered already, forgive me for.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you guys again.
Hi.
My question is, I have a WordPress website, and I also use Rank Math Pro's SEO. Is that similar? Is that similar to Yoast?
Yes.
And then also, is the audit, does that also include Google My Business, social media, all the components like analytics and all tag manager, all that?
So the audit I provide, and G here later maybe can give you, he's had a sneak preview, and if we have time and he feels comfortable, maybe he can tell you, but there's a survey you're going to take first. I call it a survey. It's a questionnaire. It's anywhere from 75 to 99 questions, depending on how you answer. And I'm going to ask about your website. I'm going to ask about Google Your Business. I'm going to ask about your CRM. I'm going to ask about your social media activity. I'm going to ask about just about everything related to your marketing and your branding and your business goals. And the purpose of that survey is to save me time on our phone call, and also to get you thinking about your business, because I bet you some of these questions you hadn't thought about. And then after you take that questionnaire, you and I will schedule a half-an-hour phone call. And if you've answered your questionnaire really well, you'll have a half an hour to just pick my brain personally. I might need 10 or 15 minutes to run through your questionnaire, ask for additional information, ask for clarification. And once we finish that phone call, I'm going to take all that information you gave me, and I'm going to go through what is publicly available on your website and social media, and deliver a report to you on what I think you're doing well, what I think could be done differently, and what steps I think are the priority to start moving you forward.
Okay. Now, did you mention also Rank Math Pro SEO? That's the same as Yoast?
That's the same as Yoast. It's the same as Yoast. Absolutely. Just okay. A different brand. And then Kay, I know, yeah, you're saying Wix is doing Wix, WordPress, Squarespace. They're doing the super fancy stuff. So if you Google SEO and you kind of just take a master class, they're going to talk about creating robot.txt files. These are files that the crawlers and spiders are looking for that I told you about. You don't need to do that. Wix and Yoast are doing it for you. Can you do it better? Absolutely. Hire a professional or take an SEO marketing class, in college. You don't need to do it.
And Jamie, to your point, just so everybody knows as well, I use RamonRay.com. It's built on Wix, full disclosure. I have no shame about that. Wix is darn good enough for me. Could I be better? Absolutely. We can always be better. I'll never be done with it better, but that's good enough for what I'm trying to do. And it's fast. You hit that publish button. It's like Wix and Google have a thing. I mean, they're both, Google's a lot bigger than Wix, but Wix is a multi-billion-dollar valuation company. So they have some, I'm guessing, some behind the scenes stuff. When you hit publish, Google knows it. And then same thing with WordPress. Yep. I use Yoast. I do the paid version because I want the full thing. Like, for example, I can tell Yoast on Twitter, let the thumbnail look like this. On Facebook, the thumbnail look like this. Little things like that. It helps you do. But as Jamie said, Wix SEO is great. Yoast SEO for WordPress, great. Good enough for me.
Yeah. So, Kay, what can you do better on Wix? How can you stand out from your competitors? I'm telling you, consistent quality content that has been optimized to the teeth, that has your keywords, that has your headings, that has rich media that has been optimized, where every file name, where every H1 tag, where you can stuff that keyword everywhere it seems possible, relevant, without feeling spammy. And you need to do that on every page, not just your blogs, not just your articles. It needs to happen on your homepage. It needs to happen on your contact us page, on your about page, on your testimonial page, everywhere.
Jamie, somebody asked about the audit before. I think Laura still has a question pending. Just heads up on that. Laura's hand is raised. But
Yeah,
just
well,
tell people, is that going to be emailed, or how does that work? Just so that people know what to expect, how they can
so
get the audit.
if you win the audit and you're not here at 7:50, I'm going to email you. And if you win the audit and you are here at 7:50, I'm still going to email you, because I have to email you a link to the questionnaire that you'll take. So
Not
I
the
am
winning per
giving
se, those who want to invest in it, those who want to buy it. They're curious
I'm
what they do.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
How do
sorry. Do we
people?
not have that on here?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be at the end. I have
Okay,
slides
got
at
it.
the end. If
Cool.
if you can't stay till the end, you will get a link in the email. Everyone who's here
Perfect.
today is going to get a follow-up email from me with a recording, a link with the slides. I'm going to ask you for feedback about how you thought this session went, and if you have ideas for future sessions. And if you're interested in buying the audit, and you can't stay until 8 o'clock, it'll be there too. I promise. Thank you for your interest. Let me move on, because we have a lot.
And don't forget Laura, Jamie. Laura's hand is still up in case
Oh, Laura, can you, Laura, Maria, Laura, do you still have a question? Can we do quick? Go ahead and unmute.
Yes, mine is very quick.
Okay.
And this is probably an obvious question, but this is all new to me. I have somebody building my website using Squarespace, and he is doing some SEO stuff. But if after that's built, I can still go to Yoast and do all this stuff, right?
Yeah, Yoast. I don't know if Yoast is on Squarespace. That might be unique to WordPress, but Squarespace has SEO settings. When you go to Squarespace and you open your individual pages, go to settings and you'll see SEO, and you'll be able to change those meta tags, those meta descriptions. You'll be able to do all of that. And I'm probably 100% sure if Squarespace is smart, because Wix is doing it and WordPress is doing it, that they have their own possibly have their own wizard, or you can probably find that one works with them if you want to, get one of those Yoast wizards that work wonderfully. So yes, and please check that and update it. Depending on who you've hired, they may do it really, really well. They may not. SEO is tough. Web developers aren't necessarily SEO experts. So social media, your SEO, again, doesn't directly impact your ranking with Google, but it drives the traffic to your website that we need to impact your rankings. So it's very important that we optimize our SEO. I'm going to give you some tips, starting with even though it doesn't impact your SEO, again, what does it do, right? It's extensive content distribution to facilitate that indexing. When those bots are crawling and looking for your site, they're trying to determine the content of your website as well as the context of your website, and social media helps do all of that. Longer lifespan of your posts, they get shared, they get distributed, hopefully. Improved online visibility and organic traffic. Again, you're kind of getting a chance to build backlinks. We're going to talk about that, why it's important to put your website links on your social media profiles. Those are backlinks. Increased brand recognition, enhanced brand reputation. It boosts your local SEO and it drives that traffic. We already know how important social media marketing is to a small business. So this is just going to help you take your social media marketing, the posts you're already doing, hopefully you're already doing, help take them to the next level. When it comes to, this is all the things that you can do to your profile. And what I've done is I spent weeks and months, and if not years, and this changes a lot, right? But I've kind of curated the basics that apply, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Pinterest, and I've given you the basics. This probably applies to Instagram and TikTok, which I haven't included here. And then on the next slide or two, I'll give you some tips that are very specific to those platforms, right? So as you're building your social media presence, make sure you choose a name. Try to include a keyword in that name, front loaded if possible. Again, nothing spammy. Like if you're Mike's Sportswear, you don't want to be Mike's Sportswear, cheap, comfy running shoes and apparel. Google's smart. And it's getting smarter. The algorithm changes. According to some Google employees, if you read pop culture, they're claiming their AI has become sentient. I don't know if I buy that, but the point I'm trying to make is don't get spammy. If it's not natural, Google's going to know, and you'll actually be penalized for that. So complete your profile, fill in everything. Fill in as much relevant information as possible. I have a virtual business. I really don't have set business hours, but if I had a social media profile, I'd have my business hours. That's important for local SEO. And again, use your pillar keyword as much as possible. You know, back to my friend G, he's got a business that's doing some Reiki and some other soul carpentry and building and very spiritual things, and he needs to kind of decide which 1 or 2 pillar keywords, he's maybe 3, and you want to get those in your profile. You want to get them in your about section, your description, your headline, your photo captions, your notes, and again, include links back to your website. Create a vanity URL. For Facebook fan pages, this isn't available until you reach 25 fans, but you can actually change the URL. And a vanity URL is just like, instead of Smart Hustle, facebook.com/Smart Hustle/6067, it can be Smart Hustle Nation Facebook group, right? LinkedIn allows you to customize URL from the jump. I've customized my URL. I think Twitter does allow you to do the same thing. So look at customizing and creating vanity URLs for your Facebook pages. And if it's not going to be your keyword, make sure it's your business name. If anyone Googles Smart Hustle right now, just those words, you're probably going to get Ramon's website. Quality shareable content. Content's king. Content. It's got to be good. I'd rather you spend time researching and writing a really long post than just putting out and only publishing once a month, and doing once a month consistently well than publishing once a week and it's not good. I tell people all the time, do less better. So if you want it to be shared, if you want people to get value of it, do it well, period. Make use of influencer marketing. You're going to hear a lot about this, and if you've been around, you know what that is. That's I'm just going to use Ramon as an example, if he doesn't mind. Dell, you know, his sponsors, the people that sponsor us, they're using influencer marketing. Ramon has an audience of small business owners that Dell wants to reach, and they want to use his influence to reach them. And so they find value in having Ramon share their products, their content, and Ramon's happy to do that with, you know, because we're all here to make, we're all here in business. But that's how it works. When you see these TikTok influencers and you see these Twitch streamers and these YouTube, you know what they're doing? They're influencers, and they're monetizing their audience, they're monetizing their content. They've built such amazing content that millions of people are watching them, and who doesn't want to get in front of millions of people? So if you can find influencers, sometimes it just takes enough money, right? Money buys everything. Sometimes they'll do it for free if they're just aligned with your brand. Make partnerships, meet people, network. People will work with people they like, so do that. Share and optimize rich media. This goes back to the videos, the images, the infographics, same thing on your website. Make sure those video files are optimized and have the keywords in it. If the platform allows you to put in alt tags, please, by all means, do that. Yes, it takes longer to write the post, but if you're building a business and you want traffic and you want people to think you're reputable, you need to do it. Do it by yourself until you can hire someone else to do it. Use CTAs, calls to action. I just told this to G today. Please don't take offense. You're not going to take offense because this doesn't apply to any of you. Humans are lazy and many of us are dumb, and we need to be told what to do next. So if you have a video on your Facebook and you share lots of information, you should have a call to action. Tell people what to do next. At the end of this session, I'm going to tell you what to do next, which hopefully is to get the marketing audit. Ramon's been sharing it all day long. Have a call to action. Tell people what to do next. Engage. People buy from people they like. They can't like you if they don't know you, and they don't know you if they can't find you. So yes, you have a social media page, and yes, you're posting to it. That's great. Are you engaging with the comments? Are you going to other Facebook groups? Are you going to other LinkedIn groups as your business page and interacting in there so people can see your expertise, so people can see the value that you bring to a conversation? You don't want to be salesy when you do this. You just want to have conversations with people. You just want people to figure out like, oh, who's this person? That was a really smart idea. And the next thing you know, they're clicking on your profile and they're reading your bio and there's a link to your website. And now they're on their website and they're reading a blog. And now guess what? Google's like, oh, there's another hit. So do it, engage, create conversations, reshare popular content. I didn't get into analytics today, again, whole nother ball game, but if you do SEO, of course, you're going to want to see if it's working. We can talk about Google Analytics and how you can monitor SEO. What's nice is social media makes it very easy. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, they all give you analytics reporting now. So if you see a post is getting some traction, maybe it's not going viral, but 10 people liked it instead of 3, reshare it in a week, right? Because not everyone saw it the first time anyway. Be authentic. I know it's at the bottom of the list, but it should be number 1. It should be before content creation. It should be before keyword search. It should frame all of your messaging. Just be yourself, because if you're not yourself, people will figure it out. Ramon talks about he has a small tribe compared to some others. That may be true, but it is a tribe of people who are engaged, who like Ramon, who are here for his content. And that is going to go further than a million people who are flipping commercials, right? It's like when you watch TV on your phone, you're distracted, you're not really watching TV. Ramon's audience is watching, right? So I'd rather have people watching instead of playing on their phone. So be you, and you'll find the people who belong with you. I'm going to stop there before I get into platform specifics. It's very similar to what I told you to do on your website. Stuff that keyword where it makes sense, where it's relevant, where it's not spammy. Those file names, that seems silly, but make sure it's in the file names. Use those alt texts. Post consistently. Post good quality content. If you can't post quality content every day, then post quality content every week, but do what you can. And I'm going to give 4 or 5 minutes for questions before I go on, because we are almost done.
One thing I'll add, if I can add 1 more minute onto your 5-minute, Jamie, is that I think somebody did say, how do you choose appropriate influencers? Definitely that's a topic maybe we can touch on, eventually and later on, but I think that for sure choosing appropriate influencers, one thing I'll just add is that people you trust, people you like, do they have to have a big audience per se? It helps, but big is contextual. But I think going to Jamie's point, I think sometimes, right, engage, because sometimes maybe it's not the audience you're looking for, but maybe someone who has the credibility that you want. So I think that's one about influencers. I can go on about that, but I just wanted to also say, to your point, Anne, thank goodness I may have to watch this 2 to 3 times. And let me be very clear. You are not going to learn everything about SEO or any topic in one setting. Jamie's done this for X number of years, 20, 10, 15, whatever it is years. I've done it for 10, 15, it's my life's work. So you can't be us and I can't be you all. So I think that I'm glad you're here, though, because what I hope, and I see G is nodding his head in agreement, this gives you a taste. You're at least able to take up 1 or 2 things. Marsha DM me privately about some things she's going through with SEO, right? So at least you're able to say, oh, maybe I can tweak it. And or as we said, when do I hire? Or doing it yourself. Jamie and I, as you see, we're not pushing anything at you. We're here giving you free knowledge. You can do it yourself. But some of you may say, you know what? I want to take an audit. You know what? Let me see if Jamie can help me. So that's 2. I think I'll stop there. Jamie, back to you. I think we got 4.5 minutes to go.
Okay, blogging every week is posting. Yeah, if you blog on your website every week and then you're sharing that blog to your social media, then yes, that's posting and that's promotion, and that's exactly what you want to do. How do you choose appropriate influencers? And this will help with keyword research, and this is going to help with your business plan. And you should have already been doing it, or you should have done it as you were planning your business. If not, you should be doing it now. Competitor research. Who are your competitors working with? What are your competitors writing about? Go to their websites. What are they doing? And then do it better, right? What are your top 3 or 4 competitors writing about? Read their blogs, stalk them like crazy, follow them on social media. Where are their blind spots? Fill them in, do it better.
And I will add 1 more thing. So go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing also about the content part is that I think Jamie alluded to this or mentioned it also at the beginning, is that yes, advertising has a role. Advertising can work and does work depending on how you do it. It takes a lot of money to put forward to it, and everything takes money or time. So I'm not saying one's better than the other, but advertising is one. Many of the Smart Hustle audience I know do a lot of word of mouth. We hang out in the networking groups. We hang out in BNI or pass our cards, things like that. Great. I'm just giving you options. That's another route to do it. I do it. I'm sure Jamie does it. No problem. Networking and all that's too. 3, I am a firm believer. Today's topic is all of you should consider the power of content. And that's publishing a whatever the number is. I'm not going to get into it right now, but seeing how can I tweak and do better at publishing content to build authority, to attract interest, to drive into some funnel, and et cetera. So I just wanted to add that advertising doesn't work, word of mouth marketing doesn't work, speaking on stage doesn't work. That's a lot of options. And we're giving you another option today. You may want to say, you know what? I can use my WordPress, especially if you're doing blogging. Wix and others can do it, but I've tried it and I know WordPress is the best for blogging, for consistent writing. This may be something that some of you may want to say, you know what? Let me try this once a week to do a nice blog on WordPress or Medium or what's the Twitter connected one? Forgot that, but there's another one connected to Twitter, Scribe or something like that. So back to you, Jamie.
So really quickly, I'm gonna do this question from Kay that I missed earlier. No, your company page doesn't need to be, your company name doesn't need to be on every page, but you need to identify 1, maybe 2 keywords or keyword phrases that you want to rank for, and you need to put those on as many pages as possible. So when I showed you that CRM, the Google rankings for CRM, there was like Salesforce and Zoho. There were several of them, right? It's CRM is what's appearing on almost every single page. That's how they're ranking. So, and they're ranking for that because that's what they sell. They're all CRMs. So, if you're a teacher, if you're a tutor probably should be somewhere on every single page. Maybe it's math tutor, maybe it's 9th grade math tutor. It needs to be specific, but that's what I'm talking about. And maybe it's not every single page. Again, you want to be relevant. It should be, Google knows, it should make sense. So, which is why I'm saying you might have 1 or 2 keywords, and then you'll have long tail phrases shaped around those keywords that you're going to try to rank for. You're welcome, Karen. Thank you, Christine. Okay, and I do want to pull that, just a reminder, if you're here, please register. Ramon, can you share that link? Sign up for the Marketing Clinic Audit giveaway. I'm giving away 1 clinic today in about 14 minutes. So let me get through this content so we have time, because I do have 2 more sections. And one of them is very important to my new friend G, and I want to make sure we hit it. So as we were talking about social media, I told you what you can do in general, about your posts, about your images, platform specific tips. Facebook, create custom tabs. If you have a business page or a fan page, you can create custom tags. Google custom tabs in Facebook. It's pretty simple. And those tabs can deliver specific information, and it gives you an opportunity to deliver more content and use those keywords. Add a call to action button. My friend G has one. It delivers to you to WhatsApp, so you can message him on WhatsApp if you're interested in his services, whether it's sending them directly to a messenger, maybe it's sending them to sign up for your newsletter, or maybe you've got an event going on, but give them a call to action, because remember I told you people need to be told what to do next. Facebook has messenger chat bots, which I'm seeing a lot of people use really well. I think Ramon uses them sometimes. It's a great way to encourage engagement, especially if you're busy. It's a good way to acknowledge people and maybe deliver information quickly so they're not waiting in the queue. Here's a really good trick. This is important. When you're posting for business, any Facebook post, but particularly for business, the first 18 words of your post are considered a meta description by Google crawlers. So your Facebook post, those first 18 words are the most important words of the post. That's going to tell Google what your post is about. So make sure, if it's not your keyword, if you can't get your keyword in there, make sure you're telling those Google crawlers what they're about to learn in the rest of your post. You have 18 words to do it. Pinterest, make sure you have a business page. Pinterest is, I don't have a Pinterest account, but I would recommend that you get a Pinterest account, even if you're not a Pinterest person, even if it's not relevant. Pinterest can be very impactful on your SEO. I can't get into that right now because it's a ton. I will tell you, if you are using Pinterest, Google SEO for Pinterest, make sure you have a business page, create a new business page. Do not convert your personal page to a business page. You can claim websites and other social media profiles on Pinterest, do that, and enable rich pins. This is including, back to what I already told you, everything that you put in that board needs to be optimized. It should feature the keyword you want it to rank for. The images should have the alt text, all that other stuff we already talked. LinkedIn, give and get recommendations and endorsements. Label your banner image. That's probably the most important thing. Otherwise, you can pretty much treat it like Facebook. Make sure the bulk of what you want Google to see, those crawlers to see. So when you write content, you got to think, right? You're writing to your audience. You're also writing to a bunch of crawlers and bots. So you need to deliver the message authentically and organically so your clients don't think you're talking to them like they're crazy, but also giving Google or Bing or whomever, DuckDuckGo, all of the new ones, giving them the information that they need to find your information. YouTube, and I'm going to go through this very quickly because I want to have time. You will have these slides. So if you're using YouTube, please just refer to the slides. But some important things to think about, just like everything else, you want those keywords in your titles, in your tags, in your descriptions, some things specific to YouTube. The title fits 100 characters, but it will truncate to 70. So Google and most people will only see the first 70. Get that keyword in there. Your description will fit 1,000 characters. That is not 1,000 words. That's 1,000 characters, and it will truncate to 120. It's not a whole lot of space. Get that keyword front loaded. If you're selling a product or a service, make sure that you have a link in the description and make sure that link has that HTTP. Oh, see, and I don't even have the S here. See, I didn't even catch my own error. Make sure it has a HTTPS so that it is clickable. You can put about 500 characters in a tag. Don't go overboard. Use keywords that make sense. And kind of like the ingredients on a package. I don't know if you know this, but your food packaging, the ingredients on the back are listed in the order in which, like if water's first, it's because it's mostly water. If sugar's first, it's because it's mostly sugar. So you want to, on YouTube, you want to put your tags in the order of priority. So back to CRMs, I might put CRM first, and then I might put CRM for small business next, right? You can use a phrase and you'll see, put double quotes around a phrase. Upload a custom thumbnail. I'm going to show you some good custom thumbnails and some bad custom thumbnails. You're going to maybe use a still from the video, maybe not. Canva is a great tool for this. If you don't have a designer, you want it to be action expressive. You're trying to get people's attention as people are scanning YouTube and all the thousands of options. How do you stand out? So here's Ramon's YouTube channel. Some of these, as you see, they're great, right? We have the title, we have expressive actions. We're telling people what they're going to get. Some don't tell any. I mean, it's Ramon expressive, like this one here at 102, but it really doesn't tell us what they're going to get unless they read it. And you can see how all of these titles are truncated. We're not doing a whole lot of SEO on our YouTube. We're just trying to deliver information to you guys. This is something, the project we might take on later. I mentioned SEO can be a full-time job. So here's what I suggest. Do it now, do it right the first time so we don't have to go back and fix it later. So you don't have 108 videos to optimize later. Optimize them when you load them. Again, categorize the video as you're uploading videos to YouTube. You can categorize them, include subtitles and captions. I think YouTube is now offering this like automatic. It's okay, but make sure you check it in grammar and spelling. Rev.com does a great job of this. I am going to go ahead and kind of sort of endorse them. They're not free, but they're not expensive either, and they're a good service to use. Turn on commenting. And this is for your social media too. Yes, it feels trolly. Yes, it feels spammy. Yes, you have to administer and monitor and moderate the comments, but do it because you actually will be penalized. That's engagement, and Google wants to see people engaging with your content. And there's this old saying in Hollywood, and that not just Hollywood, I think just in general in media, no publicity, bad publicity is like, no publicity is worse than bad publicity, right? So moderate the comments, but turn them on. Include cards and end screens. I could do a whole thing about optimizing YouTube and YouTube cards and end screens. Oh, Vimeo, if you're using Vimeo, this all applies to Vimeo, and Vimeo has some new tools for the paid accounts as well. But cards, if you see those little eyes that I've highlighted, can someone mute, please?
Make sure I get it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I can't see the link. I'm trying to find it.
Okay. If you see this eye here, that's actually clickable. If people click that, it'll show them a card, and there are 6 different cards to show them. You can collect donations. You can ask for funding. You can link to other websites. You can ask polls, do surveys, and then you can link them to other videos. Hold on, let me see if we can mute them.
I'm scrolling up and down, Jamie. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Emily Davidson.
Emily Davidson.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay. So, and again, you'll get these slides. Let me go back. You'll get these slides. End screens are the same thing as cards, except they're at the end of the video, which is nice because they don't interrupt anything, and they're clickable. End screens are a great way to throw up your email address, to throw up a link to your product that you're selling. Let's talk about local SEO. G, this is for you. If you have a business and you want people to find you locally, maybe you want to have local events, maybe you have a brick and mortar store, maybe you just want to boost your SEO in general, local SEO. This is really almost totally linked to Google business profiles, which used to be, I think, Google My Business. So if you do not have a Google business profile, get one. What this is, and you'll see on the right, and I'll show this bigger, I've Googled Reiki near Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And as soon as you put near me, near a city, you're going to get a slightly different search page than I showed you before. You're going to get this map with businesses that are nearby. You're going to get ads, of course, people who paid to be at the top, and then the organic people, and those organic people are the people that Google has decided are worth you looking at. How is it determined? Relevance, distance, prominence. We'll get into that. Again, that goes back to good content. Does Google know who you are, where you're at, and are you delivering good quality content to serve your customers? So again, just a bigger picture of what that Google results page for those people looking at your local SEO. Third Wave Psychotherapy here, it's a paid ad. They've paid Google to put them at the top. Vital Living Healing Hearts must be the closest and highly rated and most prominent, so they're served first, right? And then underneath those is kind of everybody else. Yelp is going to be up here because of their SEO. This is not an ad, and they are not a provider, but they have done SEO so that they rank for this term, right? That means Reiki, Chapel Hill, North Carolina is all over this page. And then you go on through, and so these people have done SEO to end up here. And your business profile page, claim your profile, fill it out, full and correct business name, physical address. If you don't have a physical address, that's fine. Maybe you can get them now, like virtual offices. Phone number, website, everything relevant. Like before, fill out every field. You can share content on your Google business profile. If local SEO is important to you, then I suggest you share content to that at least once a week. Optimize your profile, make sure there's a photo, your business hours, all the stuff we talked about before. Collect reviews, share content consistently. So make sure you get that Google business profile for that local SEO and share content to it regularly. Your local SEO back to your social media pages, your Facebook pages asks about, get your address in there. The more Google sees your address attached to your business name and your link, it makes that connection. What's next? Start implementing. I mean, there's a million places you could start. If you have a blog, look at the old blog posts and see how you can optimize them. If you feel like that's overwhelming, start optimizing your new blog posts. Start with a keyword search. I think that's a tool worth investing. Again, there's a middle of them, Google keyword tools. You'll get a million of them. do the keyword searches and look for keywords that make sense for your business, and do everything you can to optimize. SEO takes 4 to 6 months to even move the needle a little bit. It probably takes 6 months to a year of working consistently to see big change. So this isn't something you can do, set it and forget it. You have to work it all the time. There's no way around that. Like social media marketing, it's either costing you a ton of money or a ton of time. You have to make the investment one way or the other if you want to separate yourself. I'm going to give everyone one last chance to sign up and say that they were here. Like literally give you a minute and a half to, if you can throw that link in there.
That's all.
Ramon, because I'm going to pull that list and I'm going to pull our first.
And Jamie, while you're doing that, can I add something?
Well, yeah, because I'm going to share slides about the
Oh,
audit. What's next is actually the audit, right? Is that where you're going?
Sure. Not yet, but go ahead. I was going to recap something, but why don't you do that first? No, do that first. Do that first, because people are.
So we're giving away the audit. That's what I mentioned, and I'm trying to. Oops, hold on a second, guys.
We're giving away one audit, but we do want people to and also invest. And those who only one person is going to win. But continue on. So we're giving away.
Only one person is going to win.
Let's talk about the how people can pay for it and get the full audit. Go ahead.
Yeah, only one person's going to win the audit. And here's what it is. Here's the value of the audit. Remove the guesswork surrounding your digital marketing and your branding strategy. I'm going to ask you a million questions that if you haven't thought about before, it's going to get you thinking about it. And I'm going to be direct about my opinion. So I'm going to ask questions. It's going to help align your business growth and your goals, get clarity on the success of your efforts, learn where your resources should be focused. I'm going to tell you where I think the critical points, like what action steps you should take right now. And you can use the custom report that I'm going to deliver as a foundation for future business development efforts. I think you can see the value in that when you take the survey, and I'm going to put G on the spot and ask him when I'm done to tell you about his experience with the survey. The process, there you go. Complete our whopper of an assessment with nearly 100 questions. You're going to get a 30-minute one-on-one with me. The more time you spend in those 100 questions, the less questions I have of you in that one-on-one call, and the more time you can literally just pick my brain. And then after that, I'm going to review all of your digital material, and I'm going to deliver a plan to you that you can execute and hopefully grow your business. It is $199. That is super undervalued. That is not a promo. It's not trying to create fear of missing out. It's not going to expire today or tomorrow. It might change one day, but not anytime soon. There's a QR code. There's the link if you're interested, but I am going to give one away. And now while I'm doing the giveaway part and kind of handling some logistics, Ramon, you can take over.
Absolutely. Karen, you asked a question about how do we show that we were on the Zoom. Yep, that link I just put in there right now. And I just wanted to add a few things. And one, Jamie, thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here, especially those icons I can see. Thank you, Steve, Marcia, and Steve, and Diane's here, and many of you who followed me for years or just got to know me. So thank you all for being here. I should stop calling out names because then I'm going to email Ramon. Why didn't you call me? I was here too. But thank you all for being here. Number three, as someone said in the chat, Ramon, this is overwhelming. My head is exploding. That's great. I love when heads explode. Here's why. This is, well, Marcia went like, wait a minute here. I see your smile, Marcia. Here's what I mean. Meaning we will do future versions of this in different ways we're doing this. But my point is that at a high level, we want you to know that SEO is important. That, and SEO is this large term that means when people search on you, you're welcome, Diane, it's important. And the summary of it is there's your website, your .com, which has a number of ways you need to do SEO, Yoast or Wix or Squarespace and other ones. I was going to say Bob Squarepants, and other ones are so important. So that's your website. Jamie then went into your social media. There's a lot because of different platforms, but we want you to be aware that all the social media, including YouTube, has SEO stuff in it that you should be aware of. And then three, Jamie's talked about local. And that's important as well. So I think there could be more Jamie covered, but at a high level, we just want you to be aware, because I'll give you a secret, get real close here, a real secret. Ramon Ray can't do them all either. As Jamie told you, we hung out the laundry. My YouTube is not SEO'd up the wazoo at all. There's friends of mine, my son, for example, YouTube, he's, I think fastidious, I think is a word. He's like totally in that. But he's not doing WordPress. So I hope it encourages you as I come to an end there. But just, and I see all the thank yous, you all are so welcome, that you can't do it all. Meaning most of us smaller people can't do it all. But we hope that you can do more of it than you thought you could do. That's the bottom line. So Jamie, back to you. And I will say, I hope you invest in the audit. You're not going to pay my rent or take away bread from me or Jamie by not doing it. So keep in mind, because many of us know me very well, but this is an opportunity. If you're like, oh, Ramon, Jamie's here. We got to know her and see how Ramon's doing it. Jamie's the one. So if you want a half an hour with her, which is worth quite a bit, you definitely may want to take advantage of this. And the last thing I'll say, Jamie, I think I said the last thing I'll say 5 times. Last thing I'll say is that if someone's not asking you a lot of questions and you trust them, that's a problem. You don't want to go to a car dealership, right, and say, I want to buy a car. And they say, great, we think the Audi's best for you. They didn't even ask what you want to do. So asking questions alone, I am pretty good at this stuff. I went through the audit. Jamie said, Ramon, can you look at it? It got me asking questions about myself. And Jamie works with me to do the audit. I'm done for sure. Jamie, back to you.
Well, I had it. I'm going to give everybody one last chance because somehow I managed to lose my list. Is everyone in? Because I'm going to pull my list. All right.
Awesome.
This is it. I'm going to go full screen here and I'm going to share it because this might be fun if I do it right. Can everybody see that?
Not yet.
You have to actually hit share, right, Jamie? There we go. Can everybody see that screen?
Yes.
Ooh, so fun. Okay, I'm going to spin.
Keep it going. I'm going to videotape it if I can. Let's see. I know it's recording.
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, here we go.
Who do we have? Is it going to be Marsha or Carlton? It's Marsha.
Oh!
Marsha. Where's Marsha? She's here. Yay. So Marsha has a free audit. That's our winner. I'm so excited. Marsha's been, I believe, on like all of our clinic calls. So well deserved. That's exciting. Totally random. Marsha, I will make sure that I send you a link to the survey. Once the survey is complete, then you will get the opportunity to schedule your call with me. And then after the call, I'll let you know when I'll deliver your report. I try to do that in about 3 business days. We have about 4 minutes. I'm welcome to stay a few minutes later. If people have questions, I'm going to open it up to the room.
And this is questions about, you're welcome, Marsha, questions about anything. Jamie can answer pretty much any question. I can answer a lot of questions. So we're here for you. Go for it.
No questions. SEO, marketing, branding, CRM.
Good question.
Yes.
Hey,
This is
Maria.
Maria. Good evening again. My question is, when you're setting up a Google My Business and you have a website and your website was already pre-named and you set up your Google My Business, does it have to have the exact same name in order to work with the SEO as far as, because I have one name and I had additional name added to it. Is that going to affect it or should I need to change it?
Yeah, you'd want them to match. It probably would grab it, especially if you're going to make sure that links are there. Google will probably make the connection, but I'd make it as simple as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, be careful when you rename stuff online for sure. Laura, I see you have your hand raised. You're next.
Yes.
Yes, as far as the Google My Business, I'm going to be in clients' homes, so I don't have a brick and mortar dog training facility. Can I use my home address for that, or will I get penalized?
No, you won't get penalized, but it's going to be public. And so there's that. Not that your home address isn't public because anybody walking down the street can get it, but so you may, if you can afford to, and I think some of them are relatively cheap, you can rent addresses, or maybe you can't use a PO box. The PO box won't work. It doesn't show your proximity. So you could probably rent an address, but you'll want to get an address. And this probably only works if you're in a bigger city that's relatively near your actual location. So again, it depends on the level of comfort with sharing your home address in that space.
And do dig into it, Laura, because Google, I know, and Yelp and others, again, I don't have it in my fingers, but they're getting a lot smarter. They know this is a problem for many of us creators. So I believe there's some back thing solutions. I don't have it in my head, Jamie, but I believe I've heard some things over the years. There's ways around it legally.
Yeah.
Google knows that. So there's ways
They
around
know
it.
a lot of people are running business out of their homes and they're trying to protect privacy. So there may be, I'm not a Google My Business expert. There may be a setting in there where you can put your address, but kind of keep it private and safe. I'm sure if you just Google My Business security settings, you'll get it.
Would you say though, like if I can find an alternative like you're discussing, that the pros would outweigh the risks of having the address?
I think if you can get one that's close enough to your actual address or in the region where you're trying to get people, then that's fine. Protect your privacy. I don't know if you have kids or family, but I would prefer to use an address that's close enough, right? Then so I can rent an address from Erie, Pennsylvania to me, because I live in a very small town, and Erie, Pennsylvania is close enough for me if I wanted virtual assistants near me, right? That again, that's going to be really up to you, Laura, and how you feel about protecting your safety.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it says here, I'm looking. Oh, okay, I thought I was on mute. I'm looking at something
UPS
here.
allows business to use their address without saying it's a PO box. There you go.
And other
UPS
things,
is now
yes.
losing you. Yeah, there you go.
And even Google addresses it too. They talk about things of that. You can hide addresses, as Jamie said, and things like this. You have the option to hide your address. Yeah.
G,
So.
go ahead, G. Tell us, please, if you don't mind. Thank you, G. He did take the audit. He hasn't gotten his results yet, but he can tell you about the survey and our conversation if you don't mind.
Tell us how amazing Jamie was. That's what I want you to say, G. You're on mute, by the way. Now you're off mute.
Can I talk?
Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you. Hi, everyone. Yes, I had my very interesting and nice call with Jamie today, but I spent 2 days doing my survey. That was really the best investment of my time, because it's there when you are forced to to face your own do something, make something. So you start to ask what I'm doing. Is that really I'm doing? Why I'm doing that? It's really important. Why are you doing this business? How are you doing it? So that was a long process, not easy sometimes, but was really effective, because you need to face all the details, all the shadow corner of what are you doing. If you miss that process, you are missing an important part of your work. That's
Thank
it.
you, G.
Thank
you, G. Thank you, G. Yeah, again, guys, and I shamelessly promote it. I'm going to ask a lot about your business, what your goals are, short-term, long-term. Who are you selling to? What are you selling? How are you selling? How are you marketing your selling? How are you promoting your selling? How is all of that going? Are you doing it consistently? And then we're going to ask about, do you have a list? How many are on your list? Are you promoting to your list? And then I'm going to look at your website, and I'm going to look at your social media activity, and I'm going to tell you what I think you can do right now immediately to make an impact.
Yeah, I like how you said that, Giampiero. Where are you from? Giampiero, Italian name, or is that a Ugandan name? Okay, Italian. Is that,
He
I like
just moved here from London to Chapel Hill.
It.
He's my Chapel Hill friend. If you noticed in my examples, I did that for G.
I love it. I know we got to go because I got things to do, and you all have things to do. We want to be prioritized, but I want to say, G, I like how you said it wasn't just working with Jamie, which is awesome. I know that already, and that's a plus. But I think I like how you said you spent time going through it, and you had to think, what am I really doing? And I must say, it's Smart Hustle, my vision. I know it's Jamie's heart. There's no use. I cry very easily. There's no use being in business, guys, if we can't provide for our families, spend time with those we love, and live the life we want. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be melodramatic here, but there's no need being in business. I have no time to be in business to sit at this Smart Hustle desk all my life. No, I have no shame, and I know Jamie doesn't either, to go out and spend time with my kids, walk on the beach, play volleyball, or eat Snicker bar and Coca-Cola for a brief period of time if I feel like it. Jamie, back to you. You're awesome, Jamie. And any questions you didn't get answered, email us.
Yeah, Ramon, you go. I'll stay. I have 5 minutes.
I have a few more minutes.
I have 5 or 10 minutes if anyone wants to ask a question, and I don't want to shamelessly promote because I hate selling. I'm here to just share. But if anyone's interested in that QR code or the link to the audit, I'm happy to share it again. But in the meantime, questions.
Thank you, Steve, for your thumbs up.
Questions. No questions. Okay. Then tomorrow morning, sometime before tomorrow morning, probably tomorrow afternoon, you will get an email from Ramon with a link to these slides, a link to the recording, and our contact information. Oh, and I'm going to ask you for feedback. Please give it so we know what to share with you next time. Thank you so much for coming, everyone.
Thank you, Jamie.
Bye, Ramon. We'll chat very soon.